Are you? Good. Just had a little full paw in doing the minutes from yesterday's meeting. I put them in my printer, I put it the wrong way, and when I got here, they're blank pages. So I'm gonna email it to Treva tonight and she will email it to everybody.
You know, that's funny. I damn near did this on this one. Same thing.
You gotta flip it over, yeah, I know.
When a guy's busy, you're gonna do those things.
Yes, I'm a little bit embarrassed, but that's okay. We will get it corrected.
Yeah.
I'll have 6 o'clock whenever you're ready, Mayor.
Must not be.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. We'll start the council meeting with pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Smith,
Here,
Rose, absent, Burbank, here, Green,
Here.
Arcano,
Here.
Sunstrom,
Here.
Anderson, here.
Move to excuse Councilmember Rose.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Brandon. Agenda modifications. Do you have any additions, deletions, or corrections for the agenda tonight? Seeing none. Ask for a motion to approve the,
motion to
Agenda.
approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. All right, first up, we have Amy to speak. Let's see here.
Amy Boucher.
Yeah,
These were from our meeting, last night, our first business connections. So. Pretty fun stuff.
Thank
We
you.
had 20 people show up last night, so that was awesome.
Amy, just let me know when you want me to flip slides.
Okay, so good evening, council, mayor. Thank you for letting us present to you our kind of year-end report from 2022. Show you how we've we're working together with you, with the city, and what our plans are for 2023. So let's go ahead and get, how many minutes do I have? I forgot to ask you
About
that.
10.
Okay. Keep it. Okay, so our mission, I know I feel like I'm a robot on repeat and people probably get tired of hearing me say this, but our mission is to make downtown a place businesses thrive, community gathers, all while preserving history and culture. Our vision, it's big, and we're working on that vision statement, but it's to cultivate connections that make a difference and create. So is there any way to? Yeah, right. I'll read it from my phone.
Yeah, I have to go to that computer and do it.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I got it. So sorry. To create a vibrant and sustainable local economy that reflects togetherness in our community and makes downtown Buckley a place we call home. Next slide. So our approach, we have 4 areas that we focus on, and they are economic vitality, outreach, promotion, and design. Economic vitality, we are partnering with local businesses and provide guidance and support to them, making downtown appealing for new businesses. We're partnering with property owners and coming up with strategic plans for sustainable growth. Just over the last month, I've met with 2 of the property owners and just trying to help support them. In those meetings, we were able to identify that there is a need for more specific property management when it comes to, people that own the buildings, they're going to go look for, property management company to come in. And if the building's meant for office space as it is then, as it stands, then that's what they're looking for, office spaces being promoted that, advertised that way. So we're really trying to be proactive with that, looking at, okay, maybe we need to connect with the, Small Business Association and who's helping those small businesses out there. Those new entrepreneurs get their business plans, worked up. Let's get in touch with them so that, those businesses are coming at the forefront. So that's how we're kind of partnering with property owners. Also, if there's improvements that need to be made, trying to help find funding sources for them as well. Outreach, intentional engagement with the community in ways that meet needs of the community and downtown businesses, establishing effective communication processes that serve the community and businesses. Working on that community calendar right now, have a business resource page so businesses can see what's happening. And our promotions, focusing on implementing a marketing strategy to communicate our values, a newsletter, we're working on that. Positions itself as a hub of economic activity for downtown revitalization and creating community gathering spaces. And you'll see in the later slides kind of what more of this looks like in action. And then design, so creating an inviting, inclusive environment that celebrates history, culture, fosters accessibility, and makes downtown an experience, not just a place. Next slide. So, applying principles is important, right? Without principles, things can get all off kinds of track. So our principles are important. We've adopted these from the Washington Main Street, the National Main Street Program. They really have set up the approach, the guiding principles, and really it's implementing them into our work. And so knowing that, it's comprehensive, the work that we're doing, not just a single project can revitalize downtown, and these principles for small towns that maybe have tried to do downtown revitalization, not having those, if we think that we're going to do one thing and it's going to solve our problem, we're fooling ourselves. So incremental, it's small progress adding to a big difference. Self-help, looking for local leadership, fostering and demonstrating community involvement, and commitment to revitalization efforts. And public and private partnership, that's important. Every local Main Street program needs to support and expertise of both the public and the private sector. Identifying and capitalizing on existing assets. What's unique to Buckley, right? Like what do we have to offer? What are those local assets? Providing a solid foundation for a successful Main Street initiative, quality that, where it's being emphasized in every aspect of our revitalization program across the 4 points. I will say I get going pretty quickly. So I have a board of 5 that really keep that quality, quality in check. And so change, shifting that public perspective and perception and practices to support and sustain revitalized processes. And change doesn't happen overnight. It's slow and steady. So and it's action oriented. We frequent visible changes in the look and activities of downtown. And I think we've shown that. So let's go into what we've done this year. Slide. So under our economic vitality umbrella, we've building relationships with our local businesses, created business resource calendar, establishing our email list, supporting the businesses via social media. We've done a lot of posting through that. Partnering with the chamber has been a big one. And that's this year. I'll stop. I get going and I want to fast track into what we're going to do this year. So outreach, we partnered with the city last year. The cinema sheets didn't really work out how we had planned, but we did try to kind of have a table there and do a little fun, way to draw people out. So we try to do different raffle things, drawings, I should say. We're a nonprofit. We don't do raffles. So the information tables at the log show, cornhole. So just trying to get our presence out there. The A-Grace, Mayor's Farm parking, that was fun and made some more, created some more relationships there. And then the Buckley Fire Department, the bazaar that they had over there, that was fun. And we helped with the decorations and did a cocoa bar for them. So there was a lot more outreach done just in the community with different organizations, White River Partnership. I mean, a lot more there as well. Promotions, we did the night market, which took us about 6, 7 before we really got to feel like, okay, this is working. But we co-hosted the car show with the chamber, which was it turned out to be double what we expected, and really worked quickly on our toes to make it a great event. Trails Day, we did historic walking tour, which was fun. We wanted to do some more, but weren't able to really put together, but we have big plans for this year on that. Beautify Buckley, as you guys, we did the video presentation for you guys on that. And the holiday market, which was it was great to be able to partner to bring in those like the chamber and the Rainier School and the Historical Society, and to have us all on one like flyer. I mean, that takes some work to really bring things together in that way. And so I felt like that was a big, you know, on the outreach side and the promotion side, bringing that together. And design established a connection with our Washington Department of Agricultural and Historic Preservation Office. And so Michelle from DAP, we started that conversation, and Courtney, I think her second weekend was able to come to that meeting. I thought it was really productive. Got a lot of good conversations started. Actually, and a property owner wants to start that process to get her home, Los Serrano Inn, over here, the Lozier Ranch, the Lozier House. So we've assessed areas of focus and design concepts for wayfinding. We've kind of been starting that conversation, looking at different ideas, and hopefully that'll be something in 2023 we can look at partnering more with the city on and supporting the bigger project for that. And the signage code revision and mural planning. So that was a process, you know, coming to the community service committee, well, you first going to planning and then going to the committee, and really trying to follow that process through to like, what do we need to get this done? And let's move forward in doing that. So, and I think that revision's coming soon to you guys. So that's good. All right. Impacts. Somebody watching my time, because I feel like I'm sorry. So here's the impacts. 8 Buckley businesses joined BDA. Social media. I think this is good numbers for social media from what I've been told. I'm not a like super social media person, but considering we were a brand new organization last year, and really like started everything from the ground up, from the website to our board, our framework, building entrepreneur ecosystems, which that's a kind of a foreign word. Entrepreneur ecosystems, it's a mouthful, but Main Street has this approach, and this they call it this, and it's really putting people in the center, not capital. I mean, we all know the capital is good. Yes, we need it. We want our local economies to grow, but it's putting people in the center of that. So I feel like that's really what is going to transform our business, our local economy, with especially our downtown businesses. So outreach, 11 active partnerships with local organizations. I think that's, again, really great because they're meaningful partnerships. It's not just popping into a meeting, like we're actively working with them and helping support their efforts and and then looking at how our mission and their mission and how our missions cross and where we can meet specific needs. For example, I won't go there. I think that's in the 2023 slides. Our monthly committee meetings, we started those in September, and we're growing them. We're still working on the organization of them, but they're growing and people are coming and things are happening. And our board meetings, memberships, we have 10 founding memberships, which is a 2-year membership, and we have 7 general, 13 community partners. So that's all good stuff. Promotions, there's 22 events, 337 hours. 10 partner hosted events, 11 BDA events. Beautify Buckley, there was 225 volunteers, 450 hours. And we did 24 total market vendors, which again is those market vendors feed into our local economy and hopefully maybe into our future businesses. And the design, again, what I had said before, building those partnerships and making that personal connection and hopefully getting some historical designation and CLGs done. All right. And how these impacts align in advanced city goals. So I think this is the important connection here, is that through the comprehensive plan, our planning process, there were in that survey 3 areas that were said to be kind of priorities. And there was people wanted to preserve the rural small town feel. They wanted vibrant businesses and they wanted that family oriented atmosphere. And so this is what we're doing. And that's helping the city meet those goals of the community. And through cultivating arts and history, our historic tours, the activities, the murals, other art activities. I mean, there's a lot that we have planned for 2023 to really dive into the art section, art sector, and helping as the city's looking at maybe building up their art commission, or, that I know there was talk about that in the committee. Is that hopefully we can band these like community of artists together. So when you guys are ready to have that implemented and start reaching out into the community to assign those board members or those members that's there for, so we're kind of really being proactive with our efforts and how we're doing our work in alignment with what the city's doing. Placemaking, capturing the stories of the people in the place. I think that's so important. And I think we're doing that. And again, we have really some good ideas on how to make that connection. And the vibrant businesses, again, we had our first business meeting, our business connections, I want to call it. It's kind of like a networking, but I don't like the word network. So it's about connections. And so, and there were 20 people that came and local businesses, and great conversation, lot of energy in the room. And I see this just growing. We're having monthly meetings. It'll be with the chamber so we're co-hosting it, one and every other week it'll be providing some kind of educational information, that help businesses. So yeah. And then the family oriented atmosphere, events and activities. I mean, I think you guys have all seen kind of the community game night was last month. It was cribbage. It was awesome. There's a lot of people. A little 10-year-old won one of the I think he came in first or second for the amateur or the beginner one. And people were like, it's almost like people are so thirsty. And I feel like these things, you can just see it when we're doing them and people are coming out, like they're just getting, fed, and it's awesome. And the upcoming car cruises and the car show from last year, the hometown, I think we're kind of changing our name from night market to kind of make it more like hometown feel. So we're leaning towards more like hometown market, community market, something like that, because our markets are not just, yes, it's going to provide that family atmosphere, but we're like meeting community needs at the same time. So it's like, it's really drawing on not just the tourist side of let's get people into Buckley. Like it's really focusing on the families that are here and how can we help them? In the summer, there's not much for kids to do. And I know there's this like gaga ball thing that the kids love to do. And so like really thinking, what do they want and what will draw them downtown to want to come hang out? Because who wants to come downtown with mama to the market? So trying to do that in our markets as well. All right. So 2023, what we got? 2023 projects and events. So I really liked this quote and I can't, coloring's hard. So can't see the name of who, it was one of the directors from one of the downtowns. But it was a cool quote. And it says, these shared spaces are the ultimate public-private partnerships. These things don't happen without a strong downtown organization and a willing city, committed developers. So I love the image of the unity that it takes to really bring about revitalization. And so what we have planned for this year for 2023, again, building those relationships with our local businesses and property owners. Key is sustainable development. We don't want to just quick fix, here, we're going to do this for you. And oh, yay, thanks for the, one-time check. But now I'm like, see you later. It's really a matter of like these business connections. Like last night, the conversations that were happening, it was like people were sharing some of their challenges. And then another person's over here providing like, oh, I know how to do this. And then like, it's really, it was good to hear kind of that, those solutions being talked about, not just complaining about the problems. And building out our business resource page, getting those things established so we can really help it be a resource. Social media, tools to support the businesses, and monthly business connection meetings. And next slide. I'm almost done, I promise. Outreach. So our priority partnerships this year are the White River Partnership, They have 6 community priority areas, and that are, transportation, food access, social gathering, mental health, youth, youth support, and there was one more, I can't think of it off the top of my head. Anyways, so the way that we're working with these partnerships again is like putting those markets, when we have the markets, being able to have a theme that isn't like super noticeable, that like food justice, food insecurities, like making it, but it's like in there to where the conversation, people get that this is a need, providing the resources there. Maybe it's Harvest Pierce County comes out and brings a table of like how to grow, your own garden or something. I mean, so we're really putting some thought into how we can meet the needs of our partners. The Foothills Rails to Trails, we're working closely with them on trail projects. We're actually looking at doing a Parks Appreciation Day cleanup event. And I was just talking with her last week, the ED for Rails to Trails, and they're looking to do a spring trails event. And so we might partner on that. So that's those are the kind of things that we're looking forward for 2023. The Historical Society, pretty stoked about this. We have our historical tours. And so they're working on these pins for the, so if you go on a tour and maybe you go on so many, like 2 or 3, you get a little pen. So it's so that's fun, but we're also doing other things to help to work with the Historical Society, especially around the downtown, getting the historical designations and stuff like that. And the White River School District, the car show's coming up, and so wanting to plug in with them there for the car show. We have our game nights. We're really trying to plug into our organizations, our local organizations, and so we're partnering with the White River. No, it's how you say the whole world, the whole world, the soccer team. So women's soccer team is like the PSTA. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I get, when it's 2 boosters, I get all confused with the booster clubs, but so they're coming out and we're going to do Bunko for March. So that's going to be super fun. And also other, like, there's so many great ideas to partner with the school district on, and they've been great. Like when we've had events, they will put out, through Peach Jar, they put out the notices. So we're really fostering that relationship. And grant funding search. So that's something that we're also working on. Okay, I'll try to wrap it up. I'm wrapping it up, I promise. Design, we have, so we really want to create a space for artists. So the idea in the next few weeks is to just do a call out to our artists, local artists, to help with our 4 mural projects. There's 4 potential projects that we have. We've already talked to the property owners. So it's more about scoping out, okay, what do they want? What do the property owners, do they have a design already in mind? So that way, when we meet with these artists, we can not just all sit around and that we are focused conversation, so we can make that time used efficiently. Friends of the Carbon Canyon, that proactive interaction. So this is another, they're working on, the Carbon Canyon signage, the Pierce, I could get it wrong. There's that big project for Pierce County that is their funding and they're working on. And so they're working on the Friends of Carbon Canyon, focusing on the signage part of it. And so as we're, and that as well as going to those meetings, and as we're sitting in those meetings and seeing them do that work around okay, what do we want? How do we do this? Being able to bring that back. So when we do projects that we can really, use collectively, and then 2, hopefully have some kind of seamless transition of signage potentially along the trail. Like I said before, the signage code revision, hopefully that'll be coming soon. Banners for downtown, we'll hopefully be able to look for some funding. The city was able to, you guys did Aaron was able to buy the post, and got 1 set of the flags. So we're looking at trying to find funding for that, or raise the money for that. And the 410 Main Street corner landscape uplift, what we're calling it. So working on that area with Aaron as well, and looking for maybe a 2-phase Parks Appreciation Day and maybe Beautify Buckley cleanup to just kind of keep that area, give it a little uplift. And then now that the sign's down, now that it got ran over, maybe we can work on getting working on getting a new sign that will help like really be able to share and promote our events as we have them, because it's really hard seeing the sign over by the library parking lot, when we're having, whether it's Beautify Buckley or whether it's the markets. And then looking at how to create facade grants for next year. So that's a lot of Main Street programs do that. They have used some of the ARPA funds to do that. But also through B&O tax. So there's a lot of creative ways out there to be able to do facade grants. So that's one thing that we'll continue to work on with the city administrator, on those things. And I think, one more. Oh gosh. Okay. So here's our events that I also brought this. So if you maybe can put it on the website, or as just a PDF version, but this has our events. I think I already shared this with you guys last time. But our community game night, supporting local organizations, Park Appreciation Day, Meet on Main is part of the whole like Cruise Sumner. They're partnering with us. They have a huge following, like 30,000. And they're really, they love what they do. They're car enthusiasts and they love this area and they want to see this gap filled between, because you got Cruise Enumclaw, you got Cruise Sumner, and then Cruise Puyallup, but there's like nothing here. So they do this Meet on Mains, or they do a morning meetup 10 to noon, and then the cruise is on the following Saturday, and it's 6 to 9. Community night markets, hometown markets. I'm not sure what we're calling them yet, but we need to decide fast and get the permits in because those will be in the summer, July and August. And hosting the car show, Trails Day events, Beautify Buckley, the parade, not that we're doing the parade, but partnering with the chamber and trying to come up with something for our downtown kind of businesses. Maybe this year we, add something into it. And Day of the Dead Art and Honoring, it's so that's something for when they do the trick or treating, and kind of each booth has a little theme that they do. So we were thinking of tying in the cultural piece in that. Haven't really thought on all the details of that, but we're working on it. And then the holiday market and festivities on Main, and again, partnering with the Historical Society and talking with different people, like maybe even bringing a horse out and doing hay rides on Main and, loop around. So those are lots of good conversations happening around promotions. And I think that's the last slide. Thank you for letting me kind of give you a 22 kind of recap, and then a 2023, like what we got planned. There's so much more that we, want to do and that is organically being added, but we are a board of 5, part-time ED, and, we are growing our volunteer base. So a lot of community members are super stoked about what we're doing and want to come out and support and help. So if you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. My email's on the business connection flyer. And I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Amy.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay.
I got a couple questions.
Okay. You might get grilled here, Amy. Hang on. Go ahead, Marvin.
The social media you talk about. Some of us don't do it.
That's right. We have Matt. Because Matt walks around town and he puts up flyers.
Some of us don't come downtown that often.
Oh, well, we'll have to, I mean, that is
You
one.
need to get an email thing going,
All right, that's a good idea.
for the people that, I don't use social media because I got too much junk on my computers anyway. They just, and secondly, artist or artists. More than one artist? I can't believe there's only
Yes,
one artist in Buckley.
artists. Yes, multiple. There's a lot. I mean, once you put the word out there and it's like,
Oh, yeah,
there's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of talent out there.
oh, yeah.
And
All kinds of art.
Tell me about it. All you gotta do is talk to
Perfect.
them
Okay.
and listen. And it's amazing how much talent there is in this town.
Mhm.
I'm adding you to the email list.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay,
guys.
thanks, Marvin.
Thank you.
Ron,
She doesn't need, this is a comment, not a question.
okay,
Okay.
I want to thank her for her comprehensive presentation, vision, and what her group is doing to help revitalize downtown. It's much appreciated.
absolutely. Now, there's a lot of moving parts, as we all know, to any organization, and trying to rope all those organizations together is even a bigger undertaking. So thank you.
Every little bit counts.
Yep. Yep, okay. Public comments, do we have anybody signed up, Treva? We'll do public comment here at the beginning, or towards the beginning and at the end as well.
I want to know when they're gonna open
Nope.
up.
You have to speak at the microphone.
Yep, you've got 3 minutes. Let's see. Okay.
I have a simple question.
Are
about
you-
Jefferson Street?
Are you David Coy?
That's me.
Okay. All right, what's your question?
When's it gonna open? There's no construction going on there now as they put the water line in. I never got a notice that they're gonna close the street. And I was told it was in the post office. There was nothing in the post office.
Okay.
For me, I've been using that street for 32 years to go around. It's, you know, I just think that someone should have been notifying people about this closure.
There's a process, and we haven't even begun the
What's
process.
the point of having it closed now when nothing's going on? Why don't we just open it up and let it roll until you guys figure something out?
Well, we did just this week. We're still working on that. There's a trailhead project that's just kicked off this week on the opposite side of the street, and we're also waiting for some decent weather to stripe the ball courts, that we don't want to open it back up and then have to close it again. So that's where we're at, but there
Well,
will
is
be,
it gonna be closed permanent or what's the story? with
that
this
is,
thing?
that is a possibility, and there'll be a whole process and public comment for that for sure.
And you're gonna let the people know,
there-
use that street.
there
This is
will
gonna
be
happen,
public
'cause I'm
outreach.
finding out that a lot of stuff that happens in this town is done here and it's not really relayed to the people who live out there. And I don't know, I just think there needs to be a little bit more. What's the word? Yeah,
Public-
communication.
Public
between us,
outreach.
You know,
Yep.
and
Yep, it was,
so anyway, that's all I have to say.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Carolyn?
Can you hear me okay, Councilmember Senchum? Loud enough? Okay, great. My name is Carolyn Robertson Harding. I'm here tonight speaking on agenda item under the resolutions 2B, taxes, rates, and fees. I live at 407 7th Avenue Northeast, Puyallup, Washington, 98372. As I'm currently a member of the community stakeholder group that's providing input on the housing element of the comp plan. And I wanted to comment in related to this 2B resolution. A couple of things that I think need to be brought to your attention, just as part of the bigger picture of how it relates to these fees. During the 2021 legislative session, the legislature signed into law House Bill 1220. The House Bill 1220 changes some of the requirements in the Growth Management Act. One of those relates to the housing element, and it changed the wording that said encourage the availability of affordable housing to plan for and accommodate housing affordable to all economic segments of the population. And so I think that means something to us as a community as we are putting together our comp plan related to that state law. I would also point out that I did some digging because I'm a researcher when it comes to being appointed to a committee. I like to make sure I'm prepared. I found House Bill 1337. It relates to the accessory dwelling units, which are commonly called ADUs. What it says is that they are going to require that cities and counties no longer charge what they charge for impact fees. They want that to be 50% of the current rate for single family. So for example, one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention tonight was that as it relates to the single family and as it relates to this fee structure, when you look at what is for storm, what is for water, and what is for sewer for ADUs, which are now currently lumped into multifamily, the current rate increase is little over 10%, which is about $2,065. The current rate prior to this rate increase is $20,111. So if you add that together, that's $22,176.39. That does not include your building permit or any other permit fees that are necessary for you to build what in Buckley is code is a structure that is 800 square feet or less and a kitchen and a bathroom. So when we talk about housing and we talk about affordable housing and we talk about generational housing, which I hear a lot these days, it seems to me that if the council is supportive of generational housing and providing affordable housing in the community, we should consider some look at the costs in the fee structure as it relates to ADU. I would suggest that we take a look at whether or not ADUs fit appropriately with the multifamily. Maybe they have a separate fee schedule. I did text Representative Robertson and spoke to him about this bill that's working through the legislative session. And I asked him if he thought it was going to pass. He believes that it will. It's fairly high. It came out of committee with few or none opposition on the bill. It is now scheduled to be taken up on the House floor. It should meet cutoff, which I believe is March 3rd. For the House of Origin. So he believes it will be passed and signed for the governor. So I brought this up tonight just as a conversation starter to have with the council, knowing that we are looking at the housing element of the comp plan and that this rate structure, I understand, will likely, pass tonight for the council. But as we go farther into this comp plan, that we take a look at this and whether or not it makes sense to have someone spend probably close to $40,000 in permit fees when you add them all up for an 800 square foot structure to put your parent in your backyard. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Carolyn. Mr. Bergerson.
Good evening. My name's Steve Bergerson. I live at 228 Collins Court, also known as Shea Estates. And I'm sure you all are pretty familiar with that area out there. Anyway, I attended a study session last week. And it was because the day before the study session, I heard that there's a proposed pickleball court there's a proposal for that. And the city, or not the city of Enumclaw, but a group from Enumclaw wants to build it on land that Buckley has. One of my questions is how come Enumclaw turned it down if it's going to be so big and awesome and make a lot of money? Why are they asking us to put up the land for it, and especially land that the city doesn't own? If in 2 years the state wants to take it back, they can tell the city to take the building down at our expense. So instead of a proposal, mainly the person that did the proposal by the parks director, all the cards were on the table. In the first paragraph, it says form a public-private partnership between the city of Buckley, Rainier School, and Enumclaw Pickleball. So that pretty much rules out any other areas to put it, although Miller Park was kind of glossed over and says that there's possible wetland issues. Well, what issues? Miller Park is owned by the city and it keeps getting kicked to the curb when it comes to putting a park in. I don't understand why that is. Also, there's mention of getting together with the White River School District. It's just kind of passed over. There was really nothing stating why we couldn't. And then as a last ditch effort, someone mentioned the property at Ryan Road and 165, which the city owns, and it's owned for parks. And it seems like with everything Amy was talking about, getting everything downtown and revitalizing downtown, why do we want to build something that's 2 miles outside of town? It's not walkable. The sidewalk ends at Sargent Street. So there's no curb and gutter, open ditches, no sidewalk. So you can't walk there. Kids can't ride their bikes there. I mean, people coming from out of town might want to, drive out there, but they're going to pass right through town. So it seems like there's more that should be looked at. And according to the schedule on this proposal, next week, it's going to be for council's second review of the proposal. And a draft MOU with Enumclaw Pickleball and interlocal agreement with DSHS. So it's already ink to paper that's going to happen. So when does all the discussion happen after you guys decide to do it or what? So that's my question. So you can bet I'll be at the next meeting. So anyway, thanks. Sorry for the grumpy old man routine, but that's all I got.
Don't run away. I asked Courtney the same question.
Okay.
She'll tell you.
The Enumclaw, from my understanding, decided not to partner right now. They wanted some additional time potentially, because right now they're very focused on their own community center, and they have another school project as well that's taking place. So there's a lot going on over there. It's not that they said no, it's that they couldn't meet the timeline that this group was suggesting. And so they decided to look elsewhere. So in turn, I'll answer the second question as well, if that's okay. For the location, we are currently looking at options. I think that there was suggestions from council at our last meeting that they would like to see it on city-owned property. And so we're going to be bringing that back forward on the 28th. What we are going to do, though, in advance, because this is a quick turnaround time, is bring together a draft MOU that we could use if we move forward with, if council chose to move forward. If you look towards the end of that memo, there are 2 suggested dates already for town halls, which will be publicly advertised. I think they're March 7th and March 14th, or March 14th and March 28th.
Right.
And those will be publicly advertised to the neighboring property owners, as well as online, social media. And then we'll probably post on site if there is a site that's identified, or the 2 locations that are potentially identified. So there'll be additional outreach. This MOU would be for a term period, saying the city is willing to commit to this land for a certain amount of time, assuming that permits come through. There is another option that we're also exploring, which is the potential that right now we don't have to identify a specific piece of land, and instead the city can more generally say, over the next 2 years or so, we will identify what that piece of land is going to be, so that there's more opportunity for public comment. So there's more coming in the next month. Right now, that was truly just meant to be an introduction, and we've done more work on the staff level already, trying to evaluate other sites.
We're not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it, but the plan that everyone uses, that was initiated back in 2004, and variations have been changed through the years. But
that's the adopted one, I believe, is the one you're holding.
But it's pretty much the same as what was drawn up originally, and that's going on 20 years ago.
Yep, and it's
maybe
being
that should be
updated
looked
this
at,
year.
that there's something else that could be done with that land. Instead of a hodgepodge of things put out there, and it'd be a waste of a nice piece of land to say, put a senior housing development or something out there in a park, instead of something that's just going to generate revenue. And it seems like the locals wouldn't even really get to benefit unless they want to get out, get a membership and go in there. So anyway, it was just that the proposal seemed like it was, hey, you got to act now or you're going to miss out on this incredible offer. And I realize they have to put in for grants at a certain time. But I'm just asking you guys just to whoa up a little bit, please. So anyway, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Steve.
Thank you.
Mrs. Bergerson, you didn't say yes or no. Did you want to speak to you? Okay, just checking. Let's see,
I said what she wrote down.
anybody else like to speak before we move on, and then we'll have another opportunity at the end of council meeting to have another another session. Okay. All right. I'm gonna move the mayor's report down to number 4, and we'll start with admin, finance, and public safety, please.
Okay, we met yesterday. And I took a copious amount of notes and went home after work today and compiled them and then put them into my printer. And I guess I didn't have what I printed on the right side. And so I have blanks in here. So I apologize to my colleagues, and I will email these minutes to the city clerk tonight, and she'll get them out to you. However, at the top, emergent issues, there were none identified. The administrative report was the exact same that you got from the city administrator's update yesterday. Everything that was covered is exactly the same. I trust that you all got that, and so that's why I noted it that way. Finance update is that last council meeting, we entered into an entrance conference for the audit for the years of 2019 to 21. The update is the state's requested 3 additional items from the city, which the city will provide. And it's estimated that the state only has 2 more weeks of working on their audit, at which time it will move forward to an exit conference, and there'll probably be an open council setting like the entrance conference that will all be here for that. ARPA updates. We have completed the business part of it, and we're going to be seeing draft forms and some processes coming to council for the nonprofit grants, the part of the ARPA funding that we had identified. And city staff is currently researching levy lift options and available property tax capacity. And that report will be coming to us in the future. Police had nothing of note to discuss. Fire department, the full-time firefighter spot, which has been vacated, 6 internal applicants, of which 5 of the 6 meet the minimum requirements. Thursday, there'll be interviews for that spot conducted by representatives of outside agencies with a recommendation back to the chief with a proposed start date of April 1st. And the fire department will be participating in an emergency operations tabletop exercise on March 15th. And I believe that's at the fire department. And the courts, all staff has completed their CPR certification, and they will be presenting a judicial presentation coming up at the Buckley Citizens Academy.
Perfect. Thank you, Ron. Community Services, Councilmember Green.
Yeah, this will probably be pretty brief since we already talked about most of the stuff at the study session last time. So we met on February 6th, and the big thing we talked about was the pickleball pavilion proposal. We heard the same presentation that you all heard just a day earlier. Other big things here, there's a Buckley Hall fee waiver proposal, and this would create an actual a structure for how we would look at fees and then waive fees. And I believe this is in our agenda item tonight on fees. So that's in there. Sign code, we talked about sign code at our study session as well. Quasi judicial decision making was also something we briefly touched on, which we talked about at our study session last week. Parking code. So there was a hearing on February 6th, and that must have occurred right after our meeting. And that will come before the full council for final approval. Now, we've talked about that in the past. Staffing, this is another big one here. Staffing is going to be really tough for the building and planning department for March. One of their associate planner is getting called to active duty. and they're looking for another part-time position right now. I believe, thought I saw an update that there was interviews going on. In addition, there's going to be some surgery. There's a surgery that's going to happen. So, and we will be out, and there's another individual who will be out for an extended period of time. So March is going to be a very tough month for the building and planning department. Yeah, I guess if you know anyone who's looking for a part-time role, send them Emily's way. So upcoming, we have a next meeting is March 6th, and yep, that's the news.
Thank you, Brandon. Council member comments and good of the order. Okay, Brandon.
All right, me again. I always do this. I always have something right after my report out.
Yep.
So I was recently made aware of a situation with a prospective business who is looking to open up shop on Main Street. And I won't get into the details of who it is or what's going on, but so basically they're trying to start like a tap house, I believe. So, which is great, but the business that was there before wasn't for the same purpose. So they're getting slammed with impact fees for a change of use. I mean, slammed, like we're talking, I think it was like $40,000 potentially to start a business on Main Street. So looking at that and thinking about this business and other businesses who might want to come in and bring the kind of establishments like restaurants and things like that we want to see on Main Street. The impact fee structure, first of all, it might be something that we want to take another look at, holistically as part of the comp plan update. But second of all, just the change of use, like going from, I think it was a dog groomer, and had it been another dog groomer that went in there would have been no fee. But since it's something different, now they get assessed a sizable impact fee. That's detrimental to the economic vitality of our downtown. Who can afford that, especially unless you want a bunch of chain restaurants going in there that have the funds for that. So I spoke with a city administrator earlier today about this, and there's kind of two components here. One is, of course, and I think we should, but take a look at the comp plan update and take a second look at our impact fees that we recently passed. You might want to look at those again. But two, and something I want to talk about tonight is kind of low-hanging fruit that in the code as it stands now, and this wouldn't require a comp plan update, there's a list of exemptions for these impact fees. And we could look at creating an exemption for a change in use in the downtown district, to where that wouldn't, they wouldn't get stuck with $40,000-$50,000 to open up a store. So city administrator said that would be something they could take back and complete a study of and bring it back to the council for us to, say yay or nay to. So really what I'm looking for tonight is buy-in from my colleagues here to move forward with like a study of what that would look like to create that exemption. She said they can have it turn around pretty quick, and this could be something that we can, if it looks good, we can implement, and that would be complementary to what we're doing with parking, and just really be a low-hanging fruit, easy lever for us to pull that we could draw businesses in and not sticking with huge price tags.
Ron.
Piggybacking off what my colleague just talked about, it's unconscionable to me. When I ran for this position 5 years ago, part of it was to revitalize downtown and doing anything that this city government can do to draw people in. And this is the exact opposite. Their change of use, it makes no sense. I don't care if it was a dog groomer or a cobbler. Somebody wants to come in and put in a tap room. They're not changing anything but what the product is. I am in 100% of doing anything we can to promote downtown business, and this is counterproductive to that. Secondly, from what the Buckley Downtown Association ED talked about, sprucing up the landscaping at 410 and Main, we had discussion at our retreat about archway. Have a beautiful archway at going to the log show grounds. If you go to Wilkeson, yes, it's been in 2 different places, but that is an iconic thing. I would love to see an archway there coming into downtown Buckley on Main Street. And finally, the DSHS land issue regarding what the kind gentleman talked about and he presented. Yes, we don't own it. We need to study this. And nobody has made a decision on anything. It's coming forward. And there's other options for that land that there's a long-term lease on. That does not include just one item. So these are things that we can do. And the last topic is there was a lot of good information from the kind lady here regarding impact fees surrounding an
I
ADU.
want to talk to you.
When we have a housing crisis, an affordable housing crisis, and if somebody is zoned for a specific place to put an ADU in, to put in your mother and father or whoever, it should not be an exorbitant fee to do that. So I'll be making a motion here later in the agenda so we can address with a long eye. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Just before we get too far, Marvin, before you go, I don't know if you want to just get a kind of a bobblehead, just, is that what you're looking for on the,
Yeah,
so we don't lose your, to have Courtney and the staff look into the issue of these, it's not just traffic impact fee, there's a bunch of impact fees for small business, so that, I think we're all in agreement of looking into that, have them look into that. So, okay, I just didn't want to lose track of that. Thanks, Ron. You touched on it too. All right.
I'll tell you a funny story. I'm on our school board. 1970, our school district is poor. My comment was we need to be able to charge some impact fees for these new people coming in. Isabel Hogan, the mayor of Kent, said, that's a good idea. They picked it up at the next legislature. I'm a little bit responsible for that, but it's much beyond what I thought was an impact fee. I mean, it's just gotten worse to the point of some of these impact fees are just overused. I cannot understand why a person, unless they changed the function of the business, and I'm saying larger water size, something like that, why they should be liable for any impact fees. Any, period.
Right, change the square footage of the building.
Yeah,
something
they
like-
haven't done anything.
Right. Okay,
I mean, if they remodel a building, fine, but the point is, where the impact fees come in, they shouldn't be liable. We want something in our downtown.
Yep.
Okay, now I got one thing else.
Okay.
I really enjoyed our study session the other night. I think we accomplished a lot. And I appreciated being able to talk about the finance thing, because I still think it should be a separate committee. And that's kind of up to everyone else. But I'm gonna ask you. We got the city hall cost update And I've put a little comparison together. This is all the known information I have about that nice building that's out there on the corner of 410 and Monday Lawn. That's a really nice building. It's brand new. It's 3,500 square feet. And by my recollection here, it would cost us less than $700,000. You know, we're building houses in this city right now, 3,000 square feet, and selling them for $500,000. And yet we're looking here at a cost on this city hall thing of about 1.8 million. And we aren't sure that's going to work yet because we haven't stripped the guts out of the place. We may have a mess in there. And I'm just saying, I voted against this, so I have no other say in it. But someone needs to tell me I'm wrong. Because if they don't, I'm going to be talking a lot in the community about how we like to spend other people's money.
Okay. All right, Brandon. All right, any other council member comments? Good to the order, any of that? No, okay. All right, I'll just touch on this and we can get into the main agenda. The city administrator and I have requested a meeting with WashDOT next week to discuss the 410 corridor improvements. We also heard from the mayor and city administrator of Enumclaw, and they would like to partner with us on working with WashDOT. So hopefully that will help, and I'm sure it will. And let's see. Also, we got a request from Senator Fortunato to co-host a town hall at Buckley Hall on March 15th from 6:30 to 8:30 at Buckley Hall. Agenda will include welcome and introductions, an overview of the 2023 legislative agenda. Marvin, I know you'll be interested in that. And time for questions and answers, etc. So that's something exciting coming up that for everybody, you know, for everybody, if we can pack them in there and keep it under the threshold for the fire department. And then lastly, McDonald's has been a big topic over the last few weeks on social media and throughout the community, face-to-face, et cetera. We received an application from them on November 2nd of 2022. There were some missing documents. The project was deemed complete or a complete application on the 26th of January of this year. The property is zoned general commercial. Restaurants with drive-in or drive-through are permitted in that zone. The public may comment at any time up to and including the public hearing before the hearing examiner, which will be the most important time to comment, but we can hear comment at any time. I asked the city administrator to put together a summary for council's review, which you should have been provided this evening. And additional copies will be available for the public as well. So that's my update for this evening. Any other comments, Ron?
Well, I have a comment. I mean, we can all read it on Facebook and everything else, and I will say that anybody in the know in this town knows who owns that property there from. That encompasses the current Rainier Fresh, Blue Max, and that empty lot that is nothing more than a fireworks stand twice a year. And anybody in this community or any place else could have come in here and talked to that property owner and says, we want to put a franchise in here. We want to do this. We want to do that. Nobody did. And somebody now has, and I'm sorry, I don't eat at McDonald's that often. I have a teenager who does. But anybody could have, at any point in time, they could have put I thought, I prefer an Arby's. I prefer this. I prefer that. Great. You should have showed up. And this is what we have. Yep. That's all.
All right.
Since day one, I've always understood that from Dysfunction Junction all the way out was open for chain restaurants.
Yep.
And it's nice to say, oh, hey, we just like a local business, but it's nice to say, as Councilmember Smith said, it's not happening. And we gotta make something happen. You know, I look at every place I go, the McDonald's is probably one of the cleanest places you'll see in the town. I mean, you don't see garbage around there.
And we'll have some input on the design.
Yeah,
They'll meet the design review criteria and so on and
I
so
mean,
forth.
they meet our rules. They can be in business here. We want them.
There has been a misunderstanding or misconception for many years. Lots of them. I'm not even gonna touch on just one, but about what can and can be put where and what for and all of that. So. Did you have something, Amanda?
No.
Okay.
I wish I had a nickel for every rumor that goes around this town.
Right. You'd be a wealthy man, Marvin. Okay. On to the consent agenda.
Make a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
And public hearings, do I need to?
You need to recess
Okay.
to the public hearing
It
at 7:05.
7:05, I'm gonna recess the city council meeting and we're gonna open the first public hearing. We have,
Just
I
one.
guess, just one. And we will hear from Dominic first, I believe, right? Let me
Yes.
double check. Yep. He looked at me like, am I up first? Yes.
Yours.
This is regarding the sewer late covers agreement.
Okay, so it's, we were here last time, I was here with all of you on, I believe, January 24th. With the public hearing, it's been continued. In the interim, I believe Courtney did get a inquiry from at least one property owner within the latecomers agreement that appeared to have questions about just how a pressure sewer system works. The last time I presented, I tried to bring everybody up to speed on what a latecomers is. And kind of the bottom line is that somebody built something and since you didn't build it, if you want to connect to it, then you pay to connect to it. The other major happening, I guess, since the last time is I sent out a second letter to the property owners within the benefit area to identify the other fees downstream of this fee.
Yep.
So there was talk about dominoes that, well, I not only have to pay this fee, I've got to pay the Sutter Latecomer and the Perkins Prairie Latecomer. That's all true. So this letter went out saying, these are what these other fees are. You pay the city sewer general facility charge. You pay the Perkins Prairie. You know, basically everything that your sewer flow goes through that someone else built, if they record an agreement, you owe that fee. And there is an alternative, which is, run your own line the whole way out. So I don't have too much more to add. I'm available to answer comments from either the applicant or the property owners, or questions from the council as well. Is that,
Yep. Okay, super.
you want to ask what?
Yes, city.
Okay,
So say if their property perked for sewer, we're not gonna force them to hook up to it, right? They still have the option, septic, they still have the option to do septic or hook to those, correct?
no, city code requires that if you are within 200 feet of a public sewer line, you are required to connect. And so,
For new development, so not existing homes.
No, I was meaning if they built a single family home on one of their lots,
Yeah.
they would have to connect to it versus they would take their option away of a septic.
correct, but that option
It
is
may not be there anyways, correct?
correct. So the
Depends
city
on the
code,
purpose.
which is like most cities, if you're within, it happens to be 200 feet of a public sewer, you're required to connect. So, I believe the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department, which would be the approving authority for a septic system within the city limits, would not issue that approval, if the question comes up, regarding that development, yes.
So if they're 200 feet beyond this line, that's an option, but if they're within this,
Correct.
Yeah. okay. All right, let's see, let me go down the list here. Is there any public?
Applicants next.
No, I'm looking at the wrong
Sorry.
list here.
I put him at the end.
All right, does the applicant have anything to present?
I would make this comment. This has been a real education. I would be real sympathetic towards someone who went through this that didn't understand the system as well as I did, or as well as the Sutters did. Mr. Sutter, I mean, you gotta watch that drill. It's crazy. I mean, it goes under the road a foot all the way down through that rock that they put there. I mean, just crazy. And those guys know how to run it, boy. But I'm just saying from the standpoint of it being kind of interesting. But the whole thing that makes me a little unhappy is as I read through the RCW, and it was given to me because I didn't like some of the terms in there, and I tried to get them rewritten. Well, I found out it's state law, you know, which kind of surprised me because most state laws are written as a policy. This was written as a procedure. And so, but in the end, it said, we, the people like the Sutters and ourselves are, you know, we are not developers, but we're called developers and we're treated under that policy. The city could have done this. This is why when we talk about going on the other side of the street and fixing someone that don't live in this city, I'm totally opposed to it because we are not taking care of our own citizens first. Thank you.
Okay. Ron, did you have something?
I can explain the ground rules a little bit. So this is a quasi judicial public hearing. In a quasi judicial public hearing, the legislative body is supposed to receive all information pertaining to the record during the open public hearing. And the order that's standard is the city would start with a presentation. The applicant has an opportunity to speak. In this instance, the applicant is Councilmember Sundstrom. For this purpose, he is not functioning as a council member. He is functioning as the applicant. Following, the public can make any public comment. The city has an opportunity, which includes the city council or staff, to give additional information, and the applicant always has final word. So that is the standard process for a quasi judicial public hearing. Once the hearing has been closed by the mayor, no additional information can be added to the record by the applicant, the public, or the city. At that point, you are supposed to have all of the information that you need in order to make a decision. So we can continue to go through the process of allowing the applicant and then the city and then the public to make comments as many times as you'd like to go around it. But at the end, the applicant gets the final say to be able to explain or refute anything that's presented regarding the project.
Okay. Public comment. Does anybody in the public, including online, have a comment or question for the sewer latecomers agreement on Sheets Road? All right, seeing none, anything additional from staff? Questions, comments? Okay. And last shot, Marvin. None? Okay. All right.
By the way, I will recuse myself from this vote.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay,
So we are reconvening the meeting at
yeah, it's,
7:14.
yep. It is 7:14 and I'll reconvene the city council meeting, closing the,
The next item on the agenda is a resolution. It will be resolution 23-01 Sunstrom Latecomers Agreement.
Move to approve resolution number 23-01 Latecomers Agreement for Sunstrom Sewer Utility Extension.
Let me pause you, council member. Now would be the time to recuse yourself. Councilmember
No.
Sundstrom.
I've recused myself from this. Thank you.
okay. We've got a first.
Second,
Okay. All right, any city council questions, comments? Absolutely.
I have a comment only for housekeeping issues on our agenda bill. It states that it's agenda bill 23-12 or 23- yes, 12. And
did
I
we-
heard 01.
It's, the resolution is different than the agenda bill number.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay.
Here, yes, okay.
All right, any other questions, comments for Dominic, and fill in anything if we missed anything? This is just from council members. Nothing? Anybody? Okay. All right, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Motion carries. The next item is resolution number 23-02 taxes, rates and fees. And it's actually revision number 35, not 36, as the agenda says.
Move
Sorry.
to table, move to table resolution 23-02 to a study session.
Second.
Okay. We might not have a presentation. Where do we need to go from here?
Now you need to vote on that.
Do you
Okay,
have comment?
yeah, discussion first.
Yeah, they can discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The basis of my motion is when we heard presentation from a community member regarding the fee structure that we've all got in front of us for wanting to put grandma in my backyard or whatever. I believe we need to look at this, and it's part and parcel to what we talked about regarding the change of use business thing. It makes no sense to me. We're in a housing crisis. People get laughed at when they ask on Facebook about, I'm looking for a place to rent. There is nothing. And if somebody wants to get a permit to put in someplace for whoever to live in their backyard, it should not break the bank to do so, to provide affordable housing. So I think we need to study this more. That's the basis of my motion to table.
Okay. Yeah, Courtney, you want to speak to that?
Yes, so the approval of the taxes, rates and fees schedule formalizes items by and large that council as a body have already adopted. When it comes to the traffic impact fee, they are not based in this fee schedule. They are referenced in the fee schedule truly as a convenience for the public. In order to amend them, we have to amend our ordinance, our Buckley Municipal Code Title 3.5, as well as the transportation element of the comprehensive plan, which was most recently reviewed in June of last year and adopted in June of last year. We can only amend our comprehensive plan once annually. So if we were to table it until the comprehensive plan was amended and our code was amended, we would be unable to make some of the other changes in the taxes, rates and fees schedule. This doesn't establish those fees. It's truly used as a reference point. If you wanted, we could strike it out. But it does currently exist in those two other locations, and they would have to be amended first prior to adopting the resolution, which would happen in addition to those other changes.
All right, does that,
Go ahead.
no, if you got questions. no?
So you said we could strike the impact fees from here, so it wouldn't exist in this resolution.
But it does.
Tabled for a different time to discuss.
It really would have no change. I mean, it would, if you wanted to, you could strike it and adopt everything else, but these fees are already set by council and were set last June.
And we can still change them,
Yes,
but there's a
absolutely.
process for that.
And we'll be revisiting traffic impact fees already in April, and we might be able to move that up to March. And if we were to make those amendments, they would likely go into effect towards the end of the year, in addition with all of our other comprehensive plan amendments that are slated for this year.
I think the point's been made that we don't like what's in here. And I don't think we want to get into the business of redoing and wondering if we're being right and not. So I would ask that the motion be withdrawn so that we can continue with the business, recognizing we're not happy with it. Because I would have voted for it until I heard the other hassle that we would have gone through.
Okay,
And
Ron,
given that, I will withdraw my motion
I'll withdraw my second.
and I will make an additional motion to strike the reference of those that we have to take up with the comp plan in June. Strike the reference from this document and take that up separately.
Second.
So you're moving to approve this resolution with those changes.
Moving to approve this resolution with the stated changes.
Can I,
second and Brandon.
I second.
Okay, and Amanda, yeah, now questions.
what changes are we specifically looking
Yeah.
at? I need to know like what page are we
Page
on?
3.
What- Thank you.
The top of page 3, about the fourth paragraph that's down, impact fee for street facilities. Striking those from the schedule.
And again, these are referenced in the comprehensive plan as well as in 3.50 of the Buckley Municipal Code. So we take these fee amounts from those other locations and just place them here for reference.
Does that sound good, Ron?
Yes, that
Okay.
works for me.
Okay. Anything else, Amanda? I'm sure there is, but we can listen to Sandy's.
Go ahead.
Well, so
Presentation.
what I'm hearing is the one that includes multiple family residential, which includes ADUs, not necessary, or does it have to be all of it? Like,
Either way, I don't believe there'll be a substantial change.
got it. Okay.
It's just
We-
changing the document.
Right?
Got it.
Just
Thank
the-
you.
Just the document itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Not the fees.
Marvin, go ahead.
I ask one question, as long as we're going ahead here. Have we exempted the Downtown Business Association and the Chamber of Commerce from paying fees for their little weekend events?
I don't believe so.
No, what this has done is develop a system on page 1 for Buckley Hall specifically, that in essence, they could be waived if there was a separate agreement formed with the city. And that option would be made available to any outside non-city organization to be able to enter into a separate MOU agreement with the city that would include a specific fees for that organization.
Okay, that needs to be done. Because, I brought this up several times and everyone here talks about how they want to help our downtown business. I mean, so that's all I'm at, but
And I can tell you, I don't know all the nuts and bolts of it, but we've waived lots and lots of fees over the last couple of years, especially with COVID. So we're working on it and we'll formalize it.
Yeah,
With an
I
MOU.
appreciate that because that's how we should run the business.
Yep, I agree. Okay. Sandy.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I just wanted to go over the highlights of what the changes are in the taxes, rates and fees schedule. As City Administrator Brunel just alluded to, the big one you'll see on page 1 is striking the fee schedule for Buckley Hall and replacing it with a new classification and rate schedule. And it provides several different classifications for different type of organizations, whether they're nonprofit, fee-based, community, outside, and then provides the fees at the bottom for the rentals for those classifications. Just kind of going through under the revenue and finance section, just some changes for general administrative type fees, adding a scanned records charge as well as an electronic records charge. And then increasing the return check and rejected credit card fee based on the bank increasing the fee to us. And so passing that same fee just along that. No, the city does not necessarily get any revenue out of that. We're just passing along the same fee that the bank charges the city. And then adding notary services at $5 per notarized document. Currently, we do not notarize anything for the public. And so this would then provide a service. If the public needed something notarized, they could come into City Hall and pay $5 per document to have that notarized. We have several notaries on staff at City Hall. As was just mentioned as an amendment, we'll be striking the impact fee now for street facilities on top of page 3. At the bottom of page 3, business license, just did some cleanup. There was a reference to a fee waiver to a section of the code that has already been deleted. So just taking that out, and then taking out the temporary business license of 50 as we have it under other areas down below, calling it the seasonal and temporary business license. Those are the actual fees. And then as council had discussed and approved as part of the 23 budget was increasing the business license renewal from 50 to 75 to match the annual fee. So that recognizes that increase. Another large section change on page 4 is striking the rental fees for the multipurpose center, this building, as well as the youth center. Currently, we're not renting either of those facilities. And talking with our Parks and Rec director, if that would become something that the staff and the council would like to pursue, we would probably redo a fee structure similar to maybe Buckley Hall. So striking those as they're not getting currently used anyways. Starting on page 6 with the utilities, water and sewer, just updating the rates, the 5% rate increase for the water operating utility rates and the base charge as well as the usage charge per cubic feet. And moving on, then obviously the general facilities charges, about 10%, just over 10% increase for the general facilities charges for both water, sewer, and stormwater that continue through all up through page 8. And then the last change on page 11 under the hourly rates for external billings. The fire department had an interest to add a part-time wildland firefighter, and that is because then we can use that rate when we're sending anybody out for doing wildland fire and getting reimbursed by grants. So having that rate on there helps with that. The other change is just more of a administrative type change. You'll notice down the left column, there's a yellow recognizing that we're striking all of the references to the code sections. That's mostly because a lot of them weren't appropriate anymore. They weren't relevant. They didn't match. And so it was very confusing. And we looked at several surrounding jurisdictions. Most cities don't include their code reference changes. So we felt it was better and cleaner just to strike that off. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Amanda.
When we're looking at the water and sewer increase or things like that, do we look at like being comparable to similar sized cities or remind me again how it's decided the amount
For the increase for the water rate?
Yes, please.
I will give an answer and Dawn can correct me if I'm wrong. It is looked at using the comp plan and what is needed to sustain operations and maintenance, as well as then the contributions that go into the capital for future replacements.
Okay.
Anything else? You can add, go ahead.
There's a publication called the Engineer News Record, which has a construction cost index for 10 cities. Oh, is that for
Talking
the
about that, yeah, but she was asking about the operating, for the 5% increase.
operating? Yeah, sorry, the GFCs are based on the consumer cost index, so. So I came up here to tell you Sandy was right.
Okay. Thank you. Just need a
It's always
refresher.
good to get your city in, validate what your financial changes. Thank you, Dawn.
Sandy, can you clarify? This is formalizing what was already approved via the budget process, correct?
Correct.
So all of the figures that you saw during the budget process were based off
Based
of
on
these
these.
rates. I do want to clarify something that I mentioned earlier regarding the public comment that we received, specifically pertaining to ADUs. I do believe that she clarified that she was referencing actually the facility charges for the different utilities. We could amend those if you wanted to. It would change the forecast for the budget for this year. And the House bill that was referenced has not yet been adopted. If it is adopted, we will be notified and we would be required to make those changes next year. So I just wanted to provide that clarification.
Perfect. Okay. And Sandy went through the entire document. Any other questions, comments? Okay. All right. We shall vote. And we're,
No roll call. Go ahead and vote.
okay, all right. All in favor of this, state aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Motion carries.
All right, staff reports. City administrator,
Nothing this evening.
nothing this evening, okay, let's see, Aaron, do you have anything? Nothing tonight, Kurt? I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody that's made it down here tonight, okay. And back to public comment. I noticed you came in. If you had anything you wanted to state, or anybody else for that matter. Yeah.
No, I'm here on.
Please
Oh, yeah,
come to
come to the mic
podium,
if you would, please. Just give us your address or name and all that
Name.
good stuff.
Please.
Okay, hi, my name's Jamie Bendon. I live on 268 North McNeely Street. I'm only here tonight because I heard something about a racquetball court or pickleball court going in down by the farm, and I'm just interested in finding out if there's going to be any infrastructure. My wife and I walked that. I try to every day, but weather conducive, but there's no sidewalks. And it's tricky to walk that, especially in the winter, you know, when it gets dark so early. So to be able to access this place, if it does go in, what's the city's plans to do some improvements along what's that road called there?
Collins. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's in its infancy, although it doesn't seem like it. We're still looking at sites for the proposed pickleball. But there'll be a long process should that site be chosen and public comment, and we're doing a much better job, and we can get better at getting the word out to the public on all this stuff. So.
Okay, that's it. Yeah,
Perfect.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is that an alarm? What is that?
This is-
Oh, okay, just wanted, wasn't sure. Oh, Carolyn again.
I just wanted to follow up, related to the ADUs, just as a additional fact. I did a public records request, and there are only 4 ADUs that have been built in Buckley since 2008. And I can only imagine that part of that is due to the high cost of the permit fees to be able to do that. So that's just one thing I'd like to point out. In addition to that, related to Councilmember Green's request to have the city look at traffic impact fees. On behalf of Hotspur Construction, we pay those traffic impact fees. And I know the city spent considerable time, effort, and money to do a recent study on impact fees. I also know that those of us that deal with the traffic impact fees all the time, look at the opportunities and exceptions and abilities to request reductions in those based on certain types of things like brew pubs, I do believe are eligible for a 30% reduction under current code for that traffic impact fee. You also, I believe, have the ability to go out and get your own traffic study to show whether or not you believe that the number that the city is asking you to pay is actually a realistic number for you. So there are current options available to someone to do under the current system and code. So if the traffic impact fees were going to be looked at again, and I think the city did a good job of studying those, looking at other cities and making a pretty good impact fee structure now. We would certainly, as those of us who don't always build on downtown to build other places in the community, we would like to be considered as well for any possible reductions.
Okay, super,
Thank you.
thank you. And I got a quick question for Dominic. I believe part of the ADU thing is as city code, I'm going off the cuff here, but an ADU requires a separate water meter, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't? Okay. Okay. The general facilities charge I know they stack up in a hurry for an ADU.
So the general facilities charges is what we're talking about. So right now, the general facilities charge for water, sewer, and storm. There's a single family charge and a multifamily charge.
Yep.
ADU is right now under multifamily. It just is how it's defined.
Yep.
The multifamily is 75% of the single family.
Okay.
So ADU right now on what you see, it's 75%. I believe what Carolyn is mentioning, and I trust that that's what the House bill says, is if the House bill passes, the city would be required, I believe, to consider ADU as 50%, not 75%. So in the interim, if the city so chose to look at, and Courtney asked, well, how long would it take to look at? Well, not very long. I can tell you what it is. The city could decide, well, let's just consider ADU as 50% right now. So that's an option, but right now it's 75%. It's not full freight. It's not 100% of a single family home. But I'm not saying it's a small amount of money, but that's just how it is now. So that's kind of the change.
Okay.
It's not looking at going from 75% to 0, I believe, or
Right.
so. And maybe the House bill, a lot more people looked at it and people evaluated the impacts, but no, the city does not require a separate sewer service or a separate water meter. That's not part of it. And so that's what I would just add on that. I don't know that it can happen here and now, but I think that's maybe what Councilmember Smith was talking about, it if, talking about the fees, but if it's, if you look at square footage, I don't know if a single family home is 2,500 square feet and a multifamily is 1,200 or 75% of that, 800 ADU it's probably 50% or less. So I mean, it may be a reasonable compromise the city could explore further.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Dom.
Thank you.
Okay.
We could take care of this worrying about the impact fees if we just charge the 0.002 on our income tax for the traffic impact fee that we could charge and eliminate our $20 charges on our each 0.01 would be worth roughly $175,000.
Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, council.